Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Yankees sweep the Cleveland Guardians in Cleveland. So, a very impressive sweep. And to do so, of course, Aaron Judge is not in the Yankee lineup. And these were all very close games. Now, game 3, the Yankees end up kind of, breaking it open a little bit later in the game. But really, game 1 went to extra innings. Game 2 is decided late. And the way they won these games was, a reason, for optimism as we kind of move forward without Aaron Judge and some others as well, of course. But, the Yankees lost 2 out of 3 to the Guardians just last week in Yankee Stadium. So I'm happy that they were able to, just a week later, go to Cleveland and not only win the series, but sweep them. So they've won the season series 4 of 6 against the Guardians. The only 2 home series losses the Yankees have had were to the A's and to Cleveland, and they were able to go on the road against those teams and win. So I like that. And just a lot of good contributions, which we'll talk about. Kind of up and down the lineup. The bullpen really does a fantastic job all series long. But before getting into that, just on a side note, we as a channel, we now have an Instagram account and would love everyone to follow. Would be greatly appreciated as we grow from a social media standpoint. So it's been a long time coming. And, all the content that you see here, you will see there and more. So looking forward to that. And again, would appreciate a follow on IG. Back to the series at hand. Let's just jump right into best player and worst player of the series. And there's a lot of candidates for best player of the series. And to be honest, you could have went in a number of different directions, right? In no particular order before I kind of reveal who that best player is. And sometimes I do this where, I'll give you kind of the honorable mentions, if you will. Like Spencer Jones gets his first home run of his major league career in game 2. So kudos to him. He's looked better, in my opinion, since he's been recalled after his first stint. But another player that was extremely deserving that really has been and has really been the hottest Yankee for the last few weeks is Trent Grisham. He doesn't get the award, but he very well deserved to. He was, in all 3 games made his mark, and his numbers are in a very good place right now, batting .232 on the season with a .751 OPS. And this is after he was mired and a lot of it was bad luck. Like I am impressed by Trent Grisham's underlying numbers. The strikeouts are pretty low. The walk rate is still there. Like, I don't love him as a defensive center fielder. I've made that clear, but hey, credit where it's due. He's been great offensively. Jazz Chisholm Jr., he, has a huge home run in game 2. Had a big triple in game 3. Like, he was someone that comes to mind, but I'm going to give it to Paul Goldschmidt. And Paul Goldschmidt has really been a godsend for the Yankees. And ever since, really specifically, Giancarlo Stanton went down, and now, of course, with Judge, Goldschmidt has been that right-handed presence, whether batting leadoff against lefties or batting third against righties. Like, he has really done just a really good job and made a ton of really nice play, a couple specifically at first base in game 2. He actually was the DH in games 1 and 3. But in game 2, really, if he doesn't make some of those defensive stops, we may not be looking at a sweep. So Goldschmidt offensively, though, he goes 5 for 12 this series, a home run, 4 RBIs, a couple of walks, only 1 strikeout. And so Paul Goldschmidt, on the season, batting .287 with an .890 OPS. Like, he is someone that you want up there. He's just so good run as a scoring position. This is very likely a future Hall of Famer. And the one thing that he doesn't have, resume-wise, because the rest of it is just so impressive, is the World Series ring. And would be great to somehow get him one as a Yankee. Worst player of the series. We're going to go back-to-back on this one, and it's Anthony Volpe. And, you could always go with the catchers if you want to, and the combination now is JC Escara and Ali Sanchez. Like, you could always do that because they don't provide anything offensively. And I'll just say it right out here. Like, You need for the Yankees, the combination. Look, Austin Wells, you assume he'll come back from his injury, but you need to acquire a catcher from outside the organization. Like, that's a must. I don't see any other way around it. Like, I don't see how you can justify any way of keeping it in-house. I know catcher's a tricky position in terms of them, dealing with the pitching staff and all that comes with that. That's very important. And you want to have someone that is good defensively. That's extremely vital. But the Yankees are going to need to acquire a catcher because the offensive production they're getting for that position is beyond abysmal. But Anthony Volpe, who, to be fair, at least in Game 3, did make some positive contributions, offensively and defensively. I'll give him that. But on the whole, it's a pretty easy decision to give it to him. He goes 1 for 10 across the 3 games, gets an RBI, but strikes out, has a walk and strikes out 3 times. He was really brutal in the first 2 games and made an error in Game 3. So it's been a bit of a nightmare lately for him. The overall numbers are not very good. He's batting 194 with a 607 OPS. And it's just unfortunate that he keeps on getting fairly regular run. And I hope that comes to an end soon because, like, Jose Caballero, he needs to be the starting shortstop. That's just the way that it is right now, right? Like, I appreciate Caballero's versatility and, you shoot him out there in the out, he can play all over the diamond, essentially, and hold his own. But I think he's a better infielder than outfielder. I think we've seen that. Like, he's a little more shaky in the outfield. And he was playing a good shortstop. And look, it's not all perfect. Like, Caballero, he made an error in the first game. So again, he makes his mistakes as well. But Anthony Volpe, it's just frustrating. He should never start against righties. And sure, you want to start against lefties, fine, but he should be in AAA. That's the simple fact. And Jason Dominguez should be back soon, maybe as soon as the Toronto series this weekend. They're being kind of coy about it, but sadly, and I hope I'm wrong, I think Spencer Jones is going to be the one that kind of is the one that gets sent down for Dominguez. I would love it to be Volpe. That'd be my preference, but I do honestly think it'd be for Jones. Now, once Stanton comes back, then to me, it's got to be Volpe. I'm sorry. It's got to be Volpe, not Max Schumann, who is exactly what you want as a bench utility player. It should be Volpe. So he should not survive both of those activations. We'll see when Stan comes back. I'm hoping Stan is back within a week or 2, but the Stan situation is always an odd one. One also person I forgot to say as far as honorable mention for the best player of the series is Fernando Cruz. For what he did alone in Game 2, deserves heavy mention, but ultimately, there was a lot of other candidates before him. So let's get into it. And look, the Rays swept the Red Sox in Tampa, which is unfortunate. But look, I look at that and you look at these, the series at Cleveland for the Yanks, home against the Red Sox for Tampa. I'll take this as a mini win because that matchup is easier. It just is. I know it's in division. I know the Red Sox, whatever. The Yankees split with the Red Sox over the weekend, but Cleveland is one of the better teams in a weak American League. That's just what it is. And so I'll take that as a little bit of an advantage. Knowing, unfortunately, that we'll discuss it. I think you have a tough weekend ahead at Toronto. I do. That's going to be a very compelling and interesting series in my estimation. But Game 1, I'm just very impressed by the way the Yankees won really each game in this series, if we're being honest. Starting pitching really wasn't terrible for the Yankees, but it wasn't great. Now, Rodon, I thought in Game 3 was the best of the bunch. And even he had some imperfections. I felt like it was quality. It literally was a quality start, 6 innings, 3 runs. But this was a series that was won based on great bullpen and the offense kind of, doing what it had to, right? They didn't do a whole lot in Game 2, to be fair, but I felt like in Games 1 and 3, they did more than enough. Game 3 especially. Game 3 was the most impressive offensive performance against a good pitcher in Parker Messick. But for Game 1, Will Warren only goes 4 1/3 innings, 3 hits, 3 runs, 2 of those earned, 2 walks and 5 strikeouts. So not like an ugly line, but it wasn't a great inning for Will Warren. And it's tough. They threw out like a full lefty lineup. So that's tough on him. And Warren's been good lately. And at least he continues I think he has a streak or a lot of games of only allowing 2 earned runs or fewer. So that at least continues here. But he only gave you 4 and a third innings for the Guardians. Yanks did a good job against Gavin Williams, who's been one of the better pitchers in the American League. Gavin Williams, who beat the Yankees last week, 5 innings, 4 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. Anthony Volpe was on the bench in this game, so he was kind of your odd man out. Like I said before, Goldschmidt, DH, Rice at first in this one. Other than that, kind of what you'd expect lineup-wise. And getting it going was Paul Goldschmidt. 2-run homer off of the righty Gavin Williams. So I like to see that as well. I feel like Goldschmidt lately has been a little bit better against righties to the point where he's at least up to 212 with a 617 OPS. Again, those are not good numbers at all, but a little bit more respectable. So that is something I like to see. But Paul Goldschmidt hits a 2-run homer, 8th homer of the year to give the Yanks a 2-0 lead. Then the Yankees score in the 3rd. And it would be a Cody Bellinger RBI ground out. Sorry, not an RBI ground out. This was a failed double play attempt, which should have really been eaten by Brian Rocchio. Rocchio was not going to get Goldschmidt out. He goes for it. And so the ball goes past the first baseman, Manzardo, and Trent Grisham is able to score to give the Yankees a 3-0 lead. Bottom of the 3rd, though, the Yankees run into some problems. Will Warren and company. And a wild pitch scored, Stephen Kwan, an RBI ground out, makes it 3-2. And then you kind of think that the inning might be over, but then the Guardians mount a bit of a rally. And it ends up in a Kyle Manzardo fielder's choice error by Jose Caballero. Bit of the scoring on that, look, it was hit pretty hard. Now, if it were Volpe, we'd be apoplectic, to be fair, right? Caballero, it's a play that he could have made. Wasn't sure it'd be called an error, but it was. So an unearned run ties it up at 3. So a very strenuous inning for Will Warren. Top of the 5th, Ryan McMahon homers. And Ryan McMahon, look, like he's been good lately. It's crazy that he's probably been, over the last 15 to 20 games, the 2nd most consistent Yankee hitter after Trent Grisham. Even if it doesn't feel that way. Ryan McMahon, look, what I've noticed with McMahon, he's extremely streaky. And usually the lows are a lot lower than the highs are high, but it's the 7th homer of the year. 5 of his 7 home runs have been the opposite field. I mean, this was another one. So he's got some impressive oppo power, and it gives the Yankees a 4-3 lead. Let's now go. Brent Hedrick does a good job of getting out of a Will Warren jam in the 5th. So Hedrick's successes continue. And it was a heavy bullpen game. And the only guy that wasn't used in the bullpen, this is crazy, was actually Fernando Cruz. He goes from Hedrick to Blackburn to Yarborough, Bird, Doval, Hill, and Bednar. Crazy that they were able to piece it all together. But it was Blackburn after a Hedrick leadoff walk, to be fair. David Fry gets a leadoff walk against Hedrick, and then Paul Blackburn, who, look, he's been okay, to be fair. Like, you don't trust Paul Blackburn in a big spot, and I would consider this a fairly big spot for Paul Blackburn. He gives up a 2-run homer to Angel Martinez, his 10th homer of the year. And so the Guardians now take the lead, 5-4 with that. And Ryan Yarborough would come in and would finish up the inning. Let's go to the bottom of the 7th. Was a combination of Yarborough and Jake Bird. Top of the 8th, it's Hunter Gaddis, and Grisham starts it out. Single Grisham, single Rice. Rice had a good game 1. 1st and 3rd, no out, and Paul Goldschmidt gets started by a ground out. The one gripe I'll have with Goldschmidt here was it was a 3-0 pitch with Cody Bellinger on deck, and the pitch was very borderline. And I think the Guardians might have been at challenges at that point. So it ends up working out as the Yankees win, and the Yankees get a run here. But I was kind of surprised he swung at that one, knowing that it was barely maybe a strike. But they make it 5-5. Max Schumann pinch runs for Goldschmidt, and then Cody Bellinger gets an RBI single. Jumping the gun there. a single to move Cheapened over to third. Runners in the corners with 1 out. They bring on Cade Smith, and then it's an unbelievable play by Brian Rocchio. Jazz Chisholm, you thought that the Yankees might take the lead here, but Rocchio makes a great play where he gets the grounder, puts the glove on second, and then throws to first from his knees, I believe, and gets the out. So Jazz, a little bit of bad luck there. Wasn't hit overly hard. Let's see here. It was hit relatively hard, but a great play by Rocchio to keep it at 5, tied. Camilo Doval, pitches part of the 8th, gets into some trouble, which is not a surprise, but Tim Hill, who's been better lately, gets out of that. That was a good job by Tim Hill, because at many points, the Yankees could have lost game 1. Top 9, Spencer Jones did a single, but then strikeout of Caballero, Volpe, and Sanchez. We go to the bottom of the 9th. It's a combination of Hill and Bednar, and Bednar didn't throw that many pitches, which was key. Top of the 10th, the Yankees finally win an extra inning game, and on the road specifically. We know how much the Yankees struggle on the road. And Trent Grisham flies out. He hit it well to left, but no advance. Then they intentionally walk Ben Rice, which was a little bit risky when you consider that that second run is so important. Now, I get it. With Max Schumann on deck, I understand why Stephen Vogt did that, but it wasn't without risk. And Max Schumann is the walk machine. Max Schumann walks to make it bases loaded. Again, I think Schumann's done a really nice job in his role, and it leads you to the perfect scenario. Cody Bellinger is up, and that's exactly who went up in that situation. And Cody Bellinger, with 2 strikes, knocks an opposite field 2-run single to give the Yankees a 7-5 lead. Like, you can't tell me that there's anyone that you want up more than Cody Bellinger. And that's including, Paul Goldschmidt's been fantastic running the score base, and Trent Grisham's been awesome. I mean, Ben Rice has been one of the best hitters in the league, but for my money, it's Cody Bellinger. He's the guy that I think, feel best about in that situation. And so the Yankees get 2 big runs, and now David Bednar comes on for the 5-out win, let's call it, right? Because he's going for the win. And it starts out rough. He walks Angel Martinez to make it first and second no out, but Stephen Kwan with a soft line out to Volpe. Patrick Bailey strikes out looking, and then Brian Rocchio grounds out. So a really nice job by David Bednar, and he has picked it up lately, which is nice. So Bednar improves to 2 and 3, and a very gutsy win for the Yanks. They win in extra innings by a final score of 7-5. Let's go to game 2. And game 2 had somewhat of a similar feel to it, with just a heavy bullpen presence. Garrett Cole only goes 4 innings. Not a great outing by Garrett Cole. I mean, Cleveland gave him problems last outing as well, so maybe we can just scrap it up to a matchup, although he's had his success versus Cleveland in the past. But 4 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts for Cole, and no decision for the Guardians. Slade Ciccone, also no decision. 5 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. The odd man out of the Yankees lineup in game 2 was Caballero, which is very frustrating. I think Jose Caballero should be playing every day, and he plays for the most part, but it's Anthony Volpe who gets the start at short. So the Yankees take the lead again, as they did in game 1. And it would be Spencer Jones with his first career home run. And this was a no doubt about it, dead center field, 443-foot shot. Spencer Jones, the numbers are pretty good. And I don't know how much longer we'll see him, with Jason Dominguez probably coming back soon. I hope that Spencer Jones gets to stick around, but he strikes out a lot. Look, he struck out 3 times in game 1. That's going to be a problem, but there's other parts to his game that have been impressive. And so that makes it 2-0. Let's go to the bottom of the 3rd. And you know what? Look, there were missed opportunities for the Yankees. In the top of the 3rd, they have runners in the corners with 1 out with Cody Bellinger, I might add, and he doesn't come through, and so the score remains where it is. Bottom of the 3rd, it's a 2-out rally, which is what's frustrating. Jose Ramirez single, steals second, and then Chase DeLauder with an RBI single on a play that just ate up Anthony Volpe. Volpe needed to try to at least knock it down in that situation, and then you live to fight another day. The inning extends, but the run doesn't score. But it's an RBI single, which makes it 2-1. Then it's a walk to Manzardo, a hit by pitch to Hoskins, and then an RBI single for Angel Martinez on a fantastic play by Paul Goldschmidt down the line, but Garrett Cole was too late to get over to first. So Cole deserves some blame there, for sure. But Goldschmidt saves what could have been maybe a bases clearing hit. Keeps it at 2-2, and then Stephen Kwan grounds out to end the inning. Top of the 4th is another missed opportunity for the Yankees, and it would be JC Escarra with runners on the corners and 1 out and strikes out. Again, Escarra has been absolutely terrible offensively, and I don't think we're going to see him for the duration of the season, in my honest opinion, but crazier things have happened with this catcher position. Garrett Cole gets Dennis in trouble in the 4th. That would be all for him. Paul Blackburn pitches a scoreless 5th. Got a little bit dicey, but he was able to get a big out of Stephen Kwan where they got the out at home. Let's go to bottom of the 6th is a combination of Blackburn and Hill for that inning. Bottom of the 7th, Camilo Doval actually is able to give you a scoreless 8th, which had a big double play at the end of it. And then top of the 8th, and obviously Tom Hamilton, the Guardians announcer, play-by-play guy for years, a radio guy. He, was critical of Chisholm being on the Jimmy Fallon show last week, and Chisholm really stuck it to him with a really big left versus left against Tim Herron home run to right field. Very impressive home run for Jazz to work his way back into the count, get it full, and, using Aaron Judge's bat, hits his 9th home run of the year. So that makes it 3-2, and that was your difference. Bottom of the 8th, Jake Bird, who's not a guy you trust in that spot, does get into some trouble, but Fernando Cruz is able to get a 5-out save, including 4 strikeouts. Now, there was a leadoff walk in the 9th against Chase DeLauder, but then Cruz struck out the next 3 guys. Fernando Cruz, ERA is down to 1.84. He gets his first save of the season. He has been arguably the best pitcher out of that bullpen. And there's, and look, I think Brent Hedrick deserves some love. But Fernando Cruz has been the most consistent all season. Game 3, Yankees going for the unlikely sweep, and they get it. And Carlos Rodon gets the win, goes to 2-2, 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks, and 7 strikeouts for Rodon. For the Guardians, it would be Parker Messick, who's had a very good season, the lefty. He loses to it a 6-3, 5 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts. Very impressive showing by the Yankees. And look, a bad start for Rodon. Leadoff home run for Angel Martinez, his 11th homer of the year, gives the Guardians a 1-0 lead, but the Yankees respond in the 2nd. And a bunt by Caballero kind of gets things going, and there was an error by Messick to set the Yankees up. It leads to a Jazz Chisholm Jr. 2-run triple to make it 2-1, and then Anthony Volpe hits a ground ball that is an error by the second baseman Travis Bazzano to give the Yankees a 3-1 lead where Chisholm scores. It would remain that score until the bottom of the 4th, where it's some self-inflicted wounds by Rodon, a couple of walks. Bazzana and Fairchild lead to some issues. You get an RBI double by Austin Hedges and a sac fly by Brian Rocchio to tie it up at 3. However, we go to the top of the 6th, and it would be Trent Grisham, who, with 1 out, he's able to overturn. He gets a correct challenge, which would have been a strikeout, but it keeps the at-bat alive, and he gets a triple. So a great job by Trent. And then a sac fly by Caballero and a great slide by Grisham, where it was an off-the-line throw by David Fry, but it had Grisham beat. But Grisham was savvy enough to see that the throw was offline, and a great slide. Makes it 4-3. And then you get a 2-out rally by the Yankees. Chisholm walks. They bring on a righty to face Volpe, and hey, Volpe actually comes through with an RBI double. That was a big hit, a big insurance run to make it 5-3. Ali Sanchez walks, so a catch, a reaching base, it's a miracle. And then Paul Goldschmidt with RBI single makes it 6-3 Yankees. Rodon goes six innings, which was really needed with how much the bullpen was used. 7th inning, the Yankees, off of Cody Hewer, score a few runs. There was a double steal, which kind of helped things. Bellinger and Grisham at that. And it was a Jose Caballero RBI single and a Jazz Chisholm Jr. RBI groundout, which makes it 8-3 Yanks. Brent Hedrick with a scoreless 7th, and then Ryan Yarbrough comes on and pitches 2 innings. He does give up a run in the 9th, an RBI double by Austin Hedges, but no worse for wear. Yankees win at 8-4. They get the sweep. They're 41-26. They remain they are tied with the Rays. The Rays are percentage points ahead of the Yankees. And now it leads to a very interesting 3-game set in Toronto. And this is the first series that the Yankees have had in Toronto, the first time they've gone there since, last year's playoffs. And last year was an absolute, Rogers Center was a house of horrors for the New York Yankees. And a major reason why the Yankees ended up losing as early as they did was because of how badly they played in Toronto in the regular season and the postseason. So let's talk about pitching matchups. And I'm going to assume the Toronto starters. They haven't announced it yet, but I'm just going about it based on what it looks like. I don't love the first matchup for the Yankees. Ryan Weathers versus Trey Savage. I don't have to say much more about that. Like, if the Yankees somehow win that game, it makes me feel a lot better about the outcome of this series. In Toronto, in a weak American League, I still think Toronto's a team that is going to find their way to make the playoffs. And if you're a Yankee fan, you really don't want that to happen, because I think that we saw what they did last year. And maybe I'm giving them too much credit because this iteration maybe isn't as strong, but I think it's in the Yankees' best interest to just beat Toronto to lessen their chances of making it. Game 2 is Cam Schlittler against Kevin Gausman. So that will be an interesting matchup there. And then Game 3 will be Will Warren against Patrick Corbin. So in some ways, even though Corbin has done, fairly well against the Yankees at times, I mean, you don't mind Warren Corbin feels like there could be maybe a lot of runs, possibly, because I know Warren struggled last year in Toronto, but we'll see. I'm not overly confident in this series, is my initial thoughts. And a lot of it is because of that first matchup. Of course, you do have Schlittler in Game 2, which feels good. But Kevin Gausman, the Yankees have had major troubles with him, but there's also been times when they've done well against him. I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if the Yankees, let's say, lost this 2 out of 3. Let's just say, like, that's kind of where I'm going, despite the high that the Yankees are on right now. Like, the Yankees have done well against the Central. The Yankees have not done as well in division. And so, all to say, I would be ecstatic if the Yankees could win the series in Toronto. They won 2 out of 3. I think that would be great. But I don't know that they will. So this is, I think, one of the bigger series to date this year. And the Blue Jays, you don't want to give them life. You don't want to give them, hope. Because look, let's say the Blue Jays somehow swept the series. All of a sudden, the division might come into play. Seriously, like that's kind of what happened last year in a way. So I don't think we can, oversell, how important this series actually is. The Rays series, those are going to be the most important. Besides that, in the American League scope of things, the Blue Jays are probably one of the bigger ones, even though Toronto hasn't been that great this season. They're under 500. So again, please follow our new Instagram channel. Would be greatly appreciated. We're going to be talking a whole bunch more about the Yankees. And this road trip is off to a great start. Yankees go to Cleveland, they sweep the Guardians, and now they will head into Toronto for a 3-game set with the Blue Jays.